In the last lecture, you learned that how you can take the value from the text box. When you press the Add Task button, it is going to create a task in the Firestore database right here. And we did that. We created two tasks, wash the car, feed the dog, and they're working great. So now what we want to do is we want to display the task, obviously. I mean, right now it's simply displaying your task here and your task here. We don't want to do that. We want to display an actual task, feed the dog, wash the car, the one that we just added. So how do we do all of that stuff? So let's go to our to-do list page. And you can see that this is a code that we use to display all of these tasks, all of the hard-coded tasks. We obviously don't want to do this. We want to get the task from the Firestore database. So how do we do it? Well, let's remove this part. And what we're going to do is we're going to use something called a stream builder. And stream builder is something that you use to talk to the Firestore database. It's kind of like a one-way, or kind of like a connection, like a socket connection. So whenever something happens in the stream, let's say you add a task, the stream builder is going to retrieve the task. So it's kind of like an observation that you are putting on a particular stream of tasks, so that whenever a new task is added or deleted or updated, you will automatically get that notification, and the stream can build a new list for you. Now, this particular stream builder is going to be working on the query snapshot. Query snapshot simply means that this is going to be representing whatever is in the query for that particular Firestore database at that moment. The stream that we will be working on will come from the Firebase option. So we're going to say Firebase firestore.instance.collection, and the collection is todos.snapshots. There we go. So this means what we are saying is that whenever anything changes in the to-dos collection, it is provided to the stream. So if I even go and add a single character or remove a single character from one of the tasks, then this particular stream is going to give me the latest snapshot of the stream. Then we have to implement the builder. The builder is basically saying that, well, if the stream changes or updates or something happens, what do you want to do? And the builder is going to provide you with also the snapshot of the stream. Snapshot simply means that this particular stream consists of these documents. At that moment in time, when the collection to-dos change, then this is a snapshot of the whole to-dos, basically everything that got changed. Now we have to say that if the snapshot does have a data. So if the snapshot does not have data, has data, then there's no point doing anything, right? I mean, we can simply go ahead and return some sort of a linear progress indicator that, hey, we're trying to load the stream right now, so just wait a second. Else, we can go ahead and return an expanded widget with a child, which will be responsible for building the list. The list will be built based on the data that is inside the snapshot. Now, we don't really have a function that is called build list, so we will have to implement that function. This function build list will be responsible for, well, you guessed it, building a list. So I'm going to go over here somewhere and create that particular function. This function build list is going to be returning a widget. It's a build list function. So let's go ahead and copy this. There we go. It is going to take a query snapshot as an argument. A snapshot is simply meaning that this is the data, the documents, what it looks like in that moment of time when you added, removed, or did anything with the to-dos collection. This is going to return us a list view.builder, the one that we just used previously, but this time we actually do have the data. So I'm going to go ahead and say item count, and the item count will be snapshot dot docs, and it will be dot length. So based on the length of the docs. So if you have 3 docs, that will be the item count. And then we have the item builder, which is responsible for returning some sort of a user interface so that we can display it in the list. So we're going to pass in the context and we're going to pass in the index. Now at this moment, we can get the document. So I can simply say final doc equals to, and I have the access to the snapshot. So I can say docs and I can get a particular snapshot or particular document. This document has a lot of different properties. You can see it has a reference, it has an ID, which is the document ID, which is very, very important. It has something called a data that you can use to get the key value pair. So let's go ahead and use the data. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is map, because this is going to return you a map. All right. And from the item builder, let's go ahead and return a list tile for time being. And the title of the tile will be the map property with the title. Now this is coming from the property that we have in our document, the title property. So if you go and see now, isn't that cool that it actually does return you feed the dog and wash the car? It's pretty cool, right? That we were able to do that. Now this property, if you're wondering, title is coming from the actual document that is stored in the Firestore database. If you go to the Firestore database, you can see that the name of the property is actually title. So once again, we call the buildIt function, we pass in the snapshot. Snapshot.docs.length simply means that how many documents are in this snapshot. And since we are looking at the snapshot associated with the to-dos collection, which we did right over here, in the to-dos collection, we only have 2 documents. So we get both of those documents. When we call document.data, it's going to return us a map. So map is kind of like a dictionary. It can have a key and a value. And the key that we are asking for is title, and the corresponding value of the title, if you can see right here, is either feed the dog or wash the car. All right. So we were able to display this, and you can see it works great. But I think it will be a little bit more nicer if instead of using map and title and all of these things, because I can misspell it, right? I can accidentally say EE. So it will be a good idea to create some sort of model objects and use the model objects to basically represent a particular task. So in the next lecture, we're not only going to create a model object, but we're also going to create some helper function to create the list item. So we're going to move all of this into some sort of a function that can allow us to create a list item. So let's go ahead and do that in the next lecture.